Welcome to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Dekker Team, and I am Yetta Dekker.
And of course, I'm Ken Dekker, still.
Still?
I keep checking in the mirror. There's this old guy looking back at me, but it's still me.
Well, there you go. I have noticed that, actually.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Anyway, we form part of the Dekker Team, and there's another awesome bunch of team members that are here to take care of our clients, right? My favorite position is the promise keeper.
Yes.
Because I make the promises, and she keeps them.
Yes, and the problem is she's camera shy.
Except she's not shy when you call.
So, no, the only way you'll get to talk to her or see her is to come in or call her on the phone.
Yeah, and then she'd love to connect with you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today we're talking about those questions that people ask us all the time.
More questions.
Well,
awesome.
They're all over the place, right?
I know.
They are constant. So we will do this probably once every month or so, every 3 weeks from
Depends on
time
how
to
many questions
time.
we get.
Right. If we get the questions, we'll make sure we give you the answers. And we're glad to give them
Now you're sounding
one-on-one,
like the
too.
source. You got questions? We got answers. And they say advertising doesn't work.
Ha! Okay, Ken. With the condo market being flooded with inventory, is it a good time to buy or sell?
That person must be listening to my shows.
Because they know that the inventory is growing dramatically, more so in the condominium segment of the market than it is the freehold.
Well, you know what's interesting is last week I actually had a buyer for a condominium, and one of my condominium listings sold.
Right. You've sold 2 homes in 1 week?
Yeah, two
Both
condominiums in 1
So that's
week.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's not that they're not selling. So when we talk about the inventory relative to the number of sales, it's the spread that's a little bit concerning. It's not saying that the condominiums are not selling, because they are.
Exactly. But they need to be priced well. And I certainly, the one we sold below what some of the others had sold for in the past years, but nothing was selling. So we had to bring it to a point where the market perceived it as value, and we got full price. Yeah.
Right.
So,
and it sold, and all the others that are in that community are still sitting there.
that's right. Now, on the other hand, the one we bought, we had lots of selection. We chose one that was priced well. We got a little more off on it. Again, bought it below what the last had sold for in the last year or so, simply because we weren't in a hurry and we were able to pick one and work on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So is it a good time to buy a condominium? If you need a condominium, it's a great time to buy a condominium. There's selection like nobody's business. There's more selection than there's probably been since I got in the business 20 years ago.
And more than I got in 25 years ago.
Okay,
So,
well, there you go. So there's tons of selection, and pricing is good, and it's fairly stable. They're really not decreasing very much in value. It just means you can pick up a good priced one. Typically, there aren't multiple bids on them, so you've got a little more relaxed time to go buy one. If you're selling, it better be in good condition or great condition and be priced well.
yeah, and well doesn't mean under the market. It just means not above the market.
Yeah, means
Right.
at what the last one sold for.
Yeah, and then you will likely sell and sell quickly, especially if it's promoted correctly.
Right.
Perfect.
So always a good time to buy or sell a condominium if you need one.
Or if you are ready to sell one.
Yep.
It's a good thing. Can I make an offer lower than the price on property that is new home construction?
Yeah, I get this question quite often because we help a number of people pick a builder, whether it be a custom builder or a what we call track housing, where they build a lot of, they buy a street and they build that whole street out. We call that track housing. Significantly, most builders do not negotiate on their price. They may offer a special from time to time, an inventory home, something that's sitting there that's maybe 6 weeks out from completion. They want it gone because it's sitting there. They're just waiting to decide what color of, kitchen and flooring to put in it. But they want it gone because it costs them money to sit there. So those, sometimes they'll put a special on. One of the reasons builders don't like to discount, especially the ones that are big builders, is
And big builder meaning somebody that does a lot of
track housing.
units in a given year.
Yeah, and they're building the same model over and over again.
Or a handful of models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what I mean is if there's Model X, Y, Z, Z, Model X, they might build 6 or 10 of them in a year. They're not all right beside each other. They have different fronts on them and they're on different streets. But they're going to sell a lot of those units in one year. And the thing is, how does your neighbor feel if you got yours for less than what they paid for it? And so the builder can't start going down that slippery slope. So most of them do not negotiate. Now, when they're starting to feel the pinch and there's not enough buyers, they will start throwing in some, appliance package or so you can get hardwood flooring in the main level or something of that nature. Upgrade whatever you want, put granite countertops in or...
Well, and sometimes it's a reduction in price. If you don't want to take it in upgrade dollars, some of the builders will allow you to take it off the price.
Some will.
They will, because I have one I'm working with right now that's exactly what they're doing.
That's a good deal because it costs them more. Because if they give you, let's say they give you $5,000 in upgrade.
Well, this one's 15 actually.
Okay, but whatever they're giving you, if they're giving that in upgrades, their cost on those upgrades is less than what they're charging you. So it's not like them taking $15,000 off the base price of the house.
Right.
Because builders don't work with huge margins on the base house. Where they make more money is on the upgrades. People start spending $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 in upgrades. There's a lot more margin in those upgrades than there is in the original house.
So some of them will take $15,000 as an example. There's one I'm working with right now where they'll actually take $15,000 off the purchase price. Now they're offering that, so it is a reduction, and yet it's being offered to anyone within this time period. Mm-hmm. And the reason they're going to do
is that for a quick closing, or
no? It's just right now they need to get their sales, and so they will offer those incentives to anyone looking at one of their homes for that season. And the reason they're going to do that rather than simply change the price is because then the price can go back up when the market will allow for it.
They just take the discount off.
They just remove
it. Doesn't look like it went up.
Right, because it didn't go up. You just didn't get a discount. So there are variations in that, and we have all that information. If you're going to navigate the world of new construction, having a realtor on your side is actually a really bonus.
Yeah, and we understand their contracts, we understand their marketing, we understand their square footage disclosures, whether it includes a basement or not, and different things like that. It's important to know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Which lot to pick, which model, what upgrades. We can help you with all those things, but it's very important that if you want a realtor to help you with those things, contact a realtor first. Because if you go into the new home sites and register, or they recognize your face or whatever, the realtor's cut out of the transaction and they can't help you.
And the interesting thing is your cost for that home is not more because you have representation. No. In fact, it will be less if you take into consideration the fact that you're getting counsel that allows you to make a better, valuable decision. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. As an example, there may be a premium on a lot. And you're thinking, well, there's a premium on a lot. That means it's going to be worth more in resale. And that may not be the case. The reason there may be a premium is because a fence had to go up between you and the school, and that cost the builder, so therefore there's a premium on that lot, and yet you don't actually sell that home for more because it backs onto the park.
On the school.
On the school, sorry. On a park you would. Probably less. And so your premium actually was a detriment to you rather than an asset. And of course, the builder's not presenting it that way because it costs them more to do it. Mm-hmm. So it is a premium. Mm-hmm. So those are the kinds of things that a great realtor can help you with.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. What percentage or amount is the right amount to offer below an asking price on a resale home?
Oh, that's a great question. 3.25%.
That's not true. He just made that up. The real answer is yeah, would the real realtor please stand up?
Would the real Ken Dekker stand up?
Yes.
Yes, the truth is, it depends.
Yeah.
Because what's the value of the property? Some houses are put on the market below market. And so to get the house, you may have to actually offer more than the asking price. Yeah. Because there may be other offers coming in as well. Or maybe you got to just offer the asking price and get it done quick before other offers come in. Lots of different strategies. Many homes do put some kind of a margin in. The MLS average is around 3% discount. That's why I was teasing about the 3.25. But it's really dependent on each individual house, and that's when you need your realtor to sit down, pull the relative homes that need to be looked at to decide, is this really value or not? Because maybe it's a couple $1,000s that you might have to play with, and maybe it's a couple tens of thousands of dollars.
Or maybe it's 60 or 80,000.
Because they're just right out of whack. I think the largest discount I saw was like $100,000 off of asking price.
I think I've done more than that personally. Yeah.
But these aren't on $250,000 townhouses though.
Right.
So the more expensive the home, typically you'll see greater discount on the purchase price.
Sometimes.
And again, relative to whether it's priced really well on the market or not. Sometimes people put it on the market and then they get motivated, so they drop it even more and they bring it down to really their bottom line price. And even though it's an expensive home, it's priced below market at their bottom line price, and they're probably not going to take another dime off.
And they don't have to.
But still, someone should buy it at full price because it's great value.
And they do.
Yeah.
So it becomes a value conversation more than it becomes a how much do I get off or how much do I pay over asking.
Right.
Right? Because we just sold a bungalow in the city for about 4% more than we were asking. Mm-hmm. And it was priced where it ought to be. And yet it was well priced. And so quite a few buyers wanted to purchase it.
Right.
And another property, even in the $750,000 range, we were able to take not even 1% off. And so it really just depends. It's not all relative to the price of the property.
No.
It's relative to the value in the property and what the other options are for the buyers out there. So it's a one-on-one consideration.
Yeah.
And if you like Ken's answer of 3.25%, you could try
with that.
Yeah. Could. Don't know that it's accurate, but go for it. Are power of sales a better deal? First part of the question.
Okay.
And the second part of the question, well, there's kind of three parts. What is this thing called the right to redeem? Mm-hmm. And then the third part is, what's the difference between a power of sale and a foreclosure?
All right. Well, I'm going to answer it in reverse.
I knew that.
I'm going to answer CBA.
Because he's a backwards boy.
Yeah, CBA.
Okay.
So, first of all, the question about the power of sale compared to a foreclosure. Foreclosures are not used in Canada very much at all. Power of sales are. And they're different. A foreclosure, the lending person takes possession of the property back and then they sell it for whatever they want. And they try to make their money, but they don't have to. Let's say you owed them $200,000 on their house. They take it back from you. They could sell it for $100,000 just to get rid of it and write off the loss. And they do not come after you for any shortfall. With a power of sale, there's a requirement in that document or that legal procedure to try and get the most amount of money possible for the owner. And the owner still has the right to redeem, and I'm going to explain that. Under the other system, they do not have the right to redeem. Once it's gone, what's that word?
Foreclosure.
Foreclosure. Once it's gone into foreclosure, they don't have the right to redeem it.
Right.
Under power of sale, they have the right to redeem. So what's right to redeem mean? It means at any time they can bring the mortgage up to date or pay the mortgage off, and they remain the owner of the property. So what's that mean for a buyer? And I've actually had this happen recently where someone bought a power of sale. They were a couple weeks from the closing, and the original homeowner found some money, won a lottery, a family member, whatever. They got money. They came back, they redeemed the mortgage.
And paid the costs that had been associated
Oh, they
with
paid
the
all the
mortgage
legal
being
fees,
in
all
default.
the different things.
It's not just redeeming the mortgage.
Yeah, they paid all the interest, the legals, all of that, all the costs the bank had incurred, and they took back their house. And so the person that was a couple weeks from closing didn't get to buy the house.
Right.
So can put you in a little bit of a tricky situation.
It doesn't happen often.
No.
The longer it's been vacant and the more abused or neglected might be the right word, the more neglected it is, the higher probability it is that it will not be redeemed.
Right. So now also, under the power of sale, if the bank gets more, or the lending institution gets more for the house than what they're owed, plus their expenses, they actually give the balance back to the original homeowner. If they have less, they can actually go after the homeowner for the shortfall. So that's why power of sale is a little different than foreclosure. Now, are they a good deal? Sometimes.
Yeah.
Many times they're not. Because first of all, the bank has to prove that they've tried to get the right amount of money for the house. They had to get market value. So they'll do an appraisal or two, and then they're going to mark that house just above the appraisal. And usually about every 45 days, they're going to drop the price. Maybe about 5% they're going to drop the price, and that varies from lender to lender, but they're going to drop the price every month, month and a half until it sells, because they don't want to hold an empty house and maintain it and look after it. So they got to get it sold. And the courts would say, okay, you gave it a good chance to sell at that price, it didn't. You gave it a good chance to sell at that price, it didn't. You gave it a good chance to sell at that price. And so that's the way it works. Now, when you're negotiating with a bank on a power of sale, you're going to have to offer many times, because the bank has to prove that they tried to get the most amount of money. So you got to see a lot of counter offers, go up a little bit, go up a little bit, go up a little bit. And you can get some fair values. But typically, power of sale homes are in worse condition than your other resale homes.
Generally.
So there's more risks. They're sold as is. There's no warranties. There's no guarantees. There's no nothing.
You can still do your building inspection. You can
Yes.
typically still get your water potability. You can still do your due diligence on the property. And they're not going to assure or warrant anything. And even inclusions that are still in the home, they're not going to be listed as inclusions because they're technically not owned by the lender, whether an institution or whether an individual, because a lender could also be an individual, not just an institution.
That's right.
So therefore, you just have more variables and less control of what you're actually purchasing under a power of sale. And I guess the other piece just to be aware of, the negotiation process is often a little more exasperating.
Yeah.
Because it will take, well, first of all, none of it happens Saturday or Sunday. So every time there's a counter, it will take 1 to 3, even sometimes 4 days, clear business days, to do one counter to get a response. And some of the institutions will not honor the irrevocables you put on the paperwork and yet expect you to honor it when it comes back to you. So it's just a different journey. And we can help you navigate that. We've done lots of them. If the right opportunity's out there, well, then they can be a great deal.
So if you're just joining us, you're listening to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Dekker Team. And we're answering questions that people have sent in for us or that we've had asked in the past.
Yeah. So if you are wondering what, we hear this term realtor, we hear broker, we hear agent, we hear agency, we hear salesperson. What does it all mean is what this question is talking about. What's the difference?
Yeah. Well, the common name for a real estate agent is agent.
I know.
You know, it's my agent. It's this. Actually, in Quebec, they actually changed the ruling of how they were called because the public kind of forced the issue because that's what they called them. Really, your agent is the brokerage, and the brokerage is the umbrella, the company, the umbrella in which the salesperson works under. Now, as far as RECO, that's the Real Estate Council of Ontario, that's our governing body, they allow us to, basically there's 3 terms you can be called by: a salesperson or a salesman or saleswoman or
sales representative.
Okay, they all mean the same thing. That's a designation. It's a level of education. The next level up is the broker. And broker means you've taken several more courses. You have to have at least 2 years of experience in the industry. And it's just a little higher level of education.
And as a broker, you could then become the broker of record for a brokerage, which is the company, or you could open your own brokerage
Yeah.
if you wanted to, if you were a broker.
Yes.
However, you could still function in the capacity of a sales representative with just a higher level of education and a higher level of accountability. Is that accurate?
So the word agent is widely used by the public, not allowed to be used by the actual realtors. Realtor, by the way, is a trademark, and realtor means you are either a licensed sales representative or a licensed broker, and you are a member of CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association. That means you can use the term realtor.
And does that also not mean you're part of your local board?
Yes, usually, yeah.
Right? Because to be part of the Canadian Real Estate Association often also causes you to be part of the
real estate board,
or part of the local real estate board.
There are sales representatives and brokers who do not belong to the board, do not belong to CREA, and therefore can't use like MLS. They can't use the MLS system because that's trademarked by CREA. You have to be a member of
Well,
CREA.
it's owned by, really.
CREA is the Canadian Real Estate Association.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully that is clear now.
That's clear as mud to me.
Perfect. So I looked at a property with a sales representative, or maybe it was a broker, I'm not sure in this case, but the question says, I looked at a property with a salesperson, and I didn't feel comfortable with them.
Okay.
Can I switch agents, because here's the agent word again,
Yes.
and still buy that particular property? So I liked the property, and I wasn't so comfortable with the person that showed me, and I just simply called the person from the sign, is what this question is saying.
Okay. Yes. Yes, conditionally. As long as you haven't signed an exclusive buyer contract with an agent, with a real estate brokerage, sales rep, that says you're going to buy a property through them, then you're not under contract. So you can go and buy a property through any real estate agent you want in Ontario, because you have to be licensed in Ontario to sell a property in Ontario.
Right.
So therein is the crutch. If you've signed a contract, no, you're under an agreement with that agent, unless you can get a release from that, which you both mutually would have to agree to, you're going to be stuck with that agent.
Right, and what's kind of interesting, this question leads me to think that even if I called the person who had the property listed and they showed it to me, if I already had a buyer representation agreement signed, in fact, I cannot buy the home from the person that had the property listed.
Yeah, you could, but you might also owe commission to that other agent.
You'll get a second bill.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm. And the courts uphold it.
Absolutely they do, because you have a contract and you chose to violate the terms of your contract.
Right.
Right? And yet the contract protects you, provided you work within the ramifications of the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting. I was reading a case actually where a person asked a question, and I don't think I saw it on the list, but it was a case where their friend lived in Mexico, had a condo in Toronto, and they wanted to kind of just show it for them, maybe advertise it on some websites and whatever, and then when someone was interested, they were going to give them the paperwork, have it filled out, and send it to their friend to sign and everything and send it back. And the problem with that is they're acting as a real estate agent. They're furthering a trade, showing the property, advertising it, that kind of thing. Those are all furtherance of a trade, and that person could actually be fined significantly by RICO for trading in real estate without a license.
Right, so the only person that can trade in real estate with a license is the person that owns the home.
Yes,
so if I own my home, then I can trade in real estate.
As long as it's my personal property.
As long as it's my property and not my sister's.
Yep.
If it's my sister's, I can't do it.
Not unless you have ownership in it.
Right, then it's my property. Technically.
Yeah.
If I have ownership in it.
Even if it's 1%.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way you can actually trade in real estate without being a licensed, registered realtor.
Exactly.
Perfect. So it's been fun answering a whole bunch of questions today, and more amazing opportunities out there of properties that are available for home ownership. One in rural Manotick, so Manotick Station, I guess is what I would call rural Manotick. It's located just between Greeley and Manotick. 3 acres. It feels like a nature reserve. Lots of trees, lots of wildflowers. When I was out there visiting my person that lives in the home earlier this year, before the property was brought to market in the wintertime, I actually had a conversation with a deer on the property.
Oh,
we were doing the head nod back and forth.
What did the deer say?
He said, "Hello, how long are you going to stay?"
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. And then there was a woodpecker on the other tree.
How long have you been talking to nature?
To the animals? Anyway,
I have to call you Noah.
Yeah, okay. Amazing wildlife. A woodpecker was on the other side of the tree singing its tune. Just really neat way to be in nature, and only about a minute off the main road. So you're down a dirt road with the enclave of trees overhanging, sort of through the middle of the street. So you sort of feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, and yet you're in the middle of everything.
It's a pretty big house, too.
It is. It's a large home. It's spacious. It's a 4-bedroom. It does have a nice sunken living room at the front, large dining room, large spacious kitchen, screened-in porch at the back so you can enjoy the nature even when the mosquitoes are in full force out here in the country. So an awesome opportunity. And so if you want that property, or do you have one
How
or
much
two
is that one?
$475.
$475. Very nice.
And there is a bit of an in-law situation in the basement as well, a great teenage retreat kind of property. I wouldn't necessarily put my mom and dad down there full time, but certainly it's got some windows down there. It's got a bit of a kitchen area, a living space, a bedroom, and a bathroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So now you have a few properties that are exciting to you too. I know you've got a business kind of opportunity. That's a home that is...
This is a gorgeous bungalow
Yeah.
on 58 acres. Has an outbuilding, has an in-ground pool that has a covering over it that's heated year-round with a wood outside wood furnace. So keep the pool year-round. So
really cool. I actually went and saw it again yesterday. I was there. And that amazing shelter, I guess, it's about a $20,000 greenhouse really that's over the pool that could either stay over the pool so you can use the pool year-round, and in fact, it would be great for a landscaper or somebody like that because that's who currently owns the property. And they have all the tropical plants stored in that greenhouse year-round. Yep. Even in the winter, or in the winter specifically.
And it has a licensed aggregate pit for sand and boulders, and that is not active, but it's licensed. You could turn that into a business. 58 acres, and it's only $899.
Perfect. So you can call us on that. Thanks for joining us on the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Dekker Team.
Yep. And we're just glad you stayed for the entire show.
Bye for now.
Have a great one.